Hi guys, I'm Chris with Cali Moto TV. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the V4R warming up. Let me get you some dry clutch. Yeah. We're gonna go for a ride. And this video is gonna be kind of geared towards the people that keep asking, what are your opinions on the Street Fighter? What are your opinions on the Panigale? What are your opinions on naked versus street bikes, sport bikes like this? And sort of go over like what my process is when I'm looking for a new bike and kind of how I make that decision. So let's go for a ride. Let's get woken up, huh? Beautiful day here in Arizona today. Oh, is it gorgeous. Oh, just effortless. Oh, birdie. Gets light. Really? Okay. That's how you get the endorphins and the adrenaline pumping in the morning. Get you going. Alrighty. Now, before we get into, you know, the sport bike versus naked and whatnot, kind of think about the type of bike you want to have. I mean, that's first and foremost. What are you going to use it for? Like for me, I got the R because I knew I was going to be 90% track and probably 10% street. I don't ride the street very often. So because of that, I got a more track focused bike. Yes, you give up the creature comforts. I talk about that in other videos. But that's sort of my mindset. If you're not going to be super heavy track, or you're not a weekend warrior that's going to just carve the mountains, a bike like this probably isn't the best choice, right? Like, common sense. Obviously you can daily ride them if you want, but do you really want to incur that cost? Like I go over about riding one of these as a daily rider, daily bike, so go check out that video, link in the description down below. But that, again, that's a whole other conversation. Just very simply, what do you want the bike for? So that's your number one thing. Number two, go out to dealerships and just sit on the bike. See what feels right to you. See, what is this person doing? What are we doing? Wow, that's not where you turn there. Anyways, so number two, you got to see what the bike feels like. Sit on it, get a feel for it. If they have a demo, take it for a demo ride. You know, my opinion and what I see in bikes and feel in bikes is totally different than what you might think. So take my opinion, Bill's opinion, whoever's opinion that reviewing a bike for a grain of salt. Like, what I enjoy isn't going to be what you enjoy. So just kind of keep that in mind and just get your own data. See what the bike feels like to you, and then go from there. Those are the 2 points that are just kind of like put in the back of your mind and think about. So the grand debate, naked or sports. You know, having owned both, I also had a V4S Street Fighter like Bill did. Mine was a 21, his was a 20, I believe. Oh, the dark stealth. You know, I loved that bike, and I still do. It might be a bike I add later down the road as kind of just another secondary bike. But the beauty of them is that they tend to do a lot of things really well. And you know, like the Street Fighter, it's got the Panigale motor in it. You know, it's got that power, it's got the performance. It has carryover from their sport bike to it, so you might think there's not a wide chasm between the two. And power-wise, you know, there really isn't. They're just as immensely powerful as the Panigales. The difference you'll feel is through sections like that, where you have to transition between the two. Ooh, bunch of rocks. We have to transition between a lot of turns and you'll feel that you got the bars more upright. And again, it's the type of riding one. Can you track those bikes? Of course. My Street Fighter I tracked all the time. You saw Bill track his Street Fighter. They're phenomenally capable machines, but when it comes to just sheer steering feel and coordinating ability, these sport bikes, there's not much that compared to them. Like, they're purpose built for what we're doing right now, following a guy with a Raptor in the track of his Jeep. That's kind of awesome. Things you don't see every day. That's kind of awesome. He sped up because I'm behind him. Oh man, that's awesome. I lost the train of thought. Anyways, naked bikes offer the same amount of performance-ish, numbers wise, but with a far more approachable and comfortable sitting position. The downside to them is that not a lot of your naked bikes have wind protection. You're more than likely going to get blasted until you put on some form of windscreen. I will say things like the NT10 have a really solid, I think aftermarket like windscreen to put on. The Panic or the Street Fighters, they're okay. Like, they have ones that kind of come up a little bit and they do help. I rode a buddies of mine that had one, and it did a decent job. We got some workers around here, so we'll be careful. Oh, it's in that little hill. And again, the naked bikes, they have just the same amount of power. You know, they're phenomenally capable machines, and if you're mildly out of shape like I was when I had the Street Fighter, they make it easy for you to ride because they are not harsh. They're far more forgiving. Or if you just have a bad lower back, they're far more forgiving. Like, I can do track sessions pretty much the entire session. I can do almost the entire session on this, but the Street Fighter I can do back to back, no problem. It all comes down to like how much you want your performance front end to feel. Looks aside, I know not a lot of naked bikes look that great. Like the H2, the ZH2 is the most god-awful front end on a motorcycle I've ever seen. The KTM's kind of gnarly. The 1390 is a little different, but it's still pretty sweet. Even the Street Fighter I felt looked like Mr. Burns at a profile shot, and it just took time. The NT10, you either really like it or really hate it because it's got sort of that bumblebee look, but I think it also looks stupid. So it's all at their personal taste, but generally speaking, most of those bikes aren't the best looking machines. So I'm going to take that into consideration. Let me pull over here. There's a couple cars up front. Oh, I love GP shift on this bike. Whew, squirt out of corners. That nimbleness, I don't really feel. Jaguar. That nimbleness I don't really feel as much on Street Fighter or naked bikes as I do with this type of style sport bike. Like, you can't tell me that an R1 feels more or less nimble than an NT10. It just doesn't. So when all of you ask street naked bike or street or sport bike, the answer is it depends on you. It really depends on what you're looking for in a motorcycle, and you know what you're willing to live with. And I say that because a naked bike is far easier to freaking live with than a sport bike. They just are. These things are so aggressive. They run hotter. They can be more cramped. There can be a lot of different things, but man, are they purpose built to be just corner carving monsters. And that's why I went back to a Panigale. Will I have another naked bike in the future? of course, they're, like I said, they're so good and they're so comfortable that for every day around town, or even just like long track stints, they're phenomenal. So if you guys like this conversation, you know, hit the like button, definitely subscribe, leave a comment. I really love to know what you all think. What sort of bikes do you enjoy more than a naked or a sport bike like this? Obviously this is kind of an extreme example, but you can go to like 390s. That's still a sport bike. The R7, same thing. That's definitely less aggressive in my opinion. Someone mentioned that they thought it was more aggressive. Again, there's that different perspective and opinion. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, hang around for more videos. I hope you all have a good one. Hope you all ride or drive. We got car stuff. Check out the car stuff.